Listen to me. You are watching Billy D.
What movie are you watching today?
Thank you for asking, Arnie. We are watching Halloween, and I have to tell you, Halloween is one of my favorite franchises ever made. In fact, it could have been one of the first horror movies I've ever seen. I was allowed to give AMC and TNT movies a go when I was a kid. But I remember my first uncensored movie, and that is Halloween. I got it for like $5 at a Target, and it held a lot of firsts for me. Some good, and some terrifying, I have to tell you. All in all, it gave me my love for slashers. I dig this movie. In fact, it even birthed one of my favorite franchises, Friday the 13th.
And I said to myself, if I had a film called Friday the 13th, I could sell that.
And Sean called me up and said, Halloween is making incredible money at the box office, let's rip it off. That is keeping it real.
This movie came out in 1978 with a budget of $325,000. It grossed a little over $47 million, but does John Carpenter's Halloween still hold up? Yes. For being a standalone babysitter slasher, it nails it with the music. It has an iconic face. The kills are memorable. And not to mention the atmosphere of fall in this movie is amazing. Add in all the reboots, sequels, and remakes, and you got a horror icon for the ages. This is probably the most scariest face in horror history, so thank you, William Shatner. Let's go ahead and break down Halloween 1978. 6-year-old Michael Myers doesn't go trick-or-treating, but instead takes the life of his sister. Also don't like the parents' reaction. I mean, like the dad, he's like, oh man, what's going on? I would be like freaking out, slapping the knife out of his hand. Like, dude, what the heck did you do? Where's your sister? And then mom's like, oh, I'm just gonna chill and be leaned back. I'm gonna put my hands in my pockets. She knows she's in for a wild night. But we don't get to see it. Instead, we skip ahead 15 years where Michael escapes. But this is where we first get introduced to Loomis, and Loomis is the yin to the Michael Myers yang. A lot of people are like,
Oh, Lure's the main chick. She needs to be in all of them.
No, Loomis is the main. But that's a debate for a different night. Instead, we have Loomis racing back to Haddonfield while all these teenage girls are preparing for what they're gonna do for Halloween night. Let's go ahead and talk about the atmosphere. Even though all the trees are heavily green in a fall setting, the fake leaves and the sound, the way the piano softly plays is just beautiful. I also like how Michael Myers picked Laurie out before anybody else and he's just subtly stalking her. It does make the tie theory later on in part 2, 4, 5 way more interesting to watch. But it's like me at a Red Lobster. I'm like staring at the lobster right before I go and sit down. I'm like, dang, when are you about to be mine? I'm just hungry. There are a few things that I find weird that Michael Myers is doing. He does bump into a few people, doesn't really do anything, and then also Loomis is finding like Phelps' car garage, and he's like doing subtle mysteries of, oh man, where's Michael gonna be? In fact, a lot of the cops are clueless in this. Michael Myers is just driving around all nonchalantly, doing his thing, and nobody, and I mean nobody's questioning why somebody's driving around wearing a mask. That's a impeding vision. You at least pull over for that. I also love how Loomis is making every stop anywhere else but Haddonfield.
Dude, I'm kidding. Come on, lighten up. I'm joking.
He goes to the gravesite and see Judith Myers' grave's gone. Ooh. But it's only telling you, you know where he's been. You need to find him. You need to figure out what he's doing now. There's some scenes that I forgot about, like Michael Myers just looming outside while trick-or-treaters are going to house. He's like behind the tree. It's just things that you forget when you go back and rewatch that you appreciate a little more. Finally, Loomis is in Haddonfield. They go to the Myers house, and he gives some more dialogue about Myers and what he's about. And you see Laurie and her friends getting ready for a fun Halloween night of babysitting. That's always fun. There is a lot of building up to scenes. Yeah, this movie does not have a high body count. But when they get to it, the car scene, that was pretty cool to see. But also when Tommy peeks out of the window and sees that the babysitter's being carried by Michael Myers, and he's like, the boogeyman, and nobody believes him. That was pretty cool. Also like how the Myers house is a legend house, and the kids go up and they knock on it, and Loomis and Sheriff are like messing with them. When you talk about iconic scenes, this is the scene that I think of every time I talk about Halloween. It's the nerd and the chick PJ Souls goes in and they are like making out and they're doing their thing. Michael Myers is creeping around in the house. Well, finally they get done. The dude gets up to get a drink. Michael Myers grabs him, pins him up, and this is the scene that I remember. This is the one that they remake almost every Halloween. Also like the way he like stops, takes a moment into Myers' own work. But then he goes in and he dresses up so adorably. He basically puts a sheet on. He's like, I'm a ghost. He puts on the dude's glasses and he's gonna be the master of disguise and gets the girl when she's least expecting it. But you know, women always on their phone, which means it takes no time for Michael to do. Laurie puts on her big girl panties and goes next door and explores just to find the room where all her friends are dead. But this scene where it builds up, where she's leaning up against the moonlight and then in the black room, slowly but surely the mask gets revealed, that is awesome. She begins to get chased, throw down the stairs, she runs across the street, and the anticipation of Tommy slowly waking up, slowly going to unlock the door to let Laurie in, that is so awesome. That is awesome to see because you know that kid doesn't care. He was just told that the boogeyman means nothing. Guess who was right? From there on, there's a lot of close calls. He goes behind the couch. She goes upstairs. They're breaking down closets. But finally, you think it's all said and done. He is now behind the bed. He's done for. He got stabbed. And she's just breathing. But then he leans up. The kids are running across the street, by the way, screaming for help. It's like, dude, go to a house. Not the one that has all the murdered people in it, but the one that has people actually up and about. Knock on there and be like, hey, we need people. Be calm. Don't scream down the street. Even though it does get Loomis's, like, attention, these kids are just so inefficient that it ticks me off. When Loomis gets up there, there's a struggle and they're ripping off masks. The dude gets shot. Michael gets shot like the whole clip 6 times, right? And then Loomis goes up, looks over the balcony. Ooh, Michael's gone, and they show all the scenes, the set pieces throughout the whole movie, and it gives an ominous, like, oh, you could be next. And I like the way this movie ends. The set pieces, the design, the atmosphere, all beautiful, all amazing. This is a movie that makes me feel like this is fall. The Michael Myers design is iconic. It's beautiful. I love it. I wouldn't want Michael any other way. I do like the idea of things not really being connected. Like the girls he chose were all pure random, and this would have been fine as a one-off movie. But I do like Laurie being a sister. I do like what they implement later on in the movies that make it so much more better that I'm kind of happy it wasn't just a one-off thing. Loomis being played by Donald Pleasance is amazing. Probably the least talked about things of the Halloween franchise. And I like that one iconic kill where the dude's getting pinned up. Cons, there's not that high of a body count. There's very little reason for me to go back and have that, oh, carnage candy fun. This is a fun Halloween movie, but I would only watch this movie around Halloween. The story's fine, but it does feel like there's something missing. Now that sounds like a con. It is a con for just this one movie, but when Halloween 2 comes in, that makes this movie feel full and complete, and you got a beginning to end. Another con is I don't really like seeing Michael without the mask. I do feel like this movie meanders a bit, especially the Loomis scenes where he's doing investigation stuff. And there's a lot of things that would typically sink this movie from being 5 out of 5. We'll get to the score in a second, but the fact Michael knows how to drive, the parents at the beginning being so nonchalant, and the neglectful nature of most of the parents throughout this movie. Like, why is every single mom and dad busy on Halloween night? Like, my anniversary is on Halloween, but me and my wife would much rather take our kids out trick-or-treating and not miss a moment of that than go out and leave it for a babysitter. But oh well. Arnie, what would you give it?
5 out of 5.
See, that's a high score from you, dude. If you guys don't know him, he doesn't give that high of scores a lot. I give it a 4.5 out of 5, which is still a pretty high score. I just feel like if this movie was released today, it would be dragged through the mud and be a 3 out of 5 film to most. But Billy was the pioneer of the slasher franchise. It's not, dude. Black Christmas came out before then. Vertigo came out before then. There's a lot of things that could be considered slasher that came out before Halloween. Halloween is what cemented the cliches. Now, is that something we should be praising? I still think so. That's why I'm not being too hard on this movie. I do dig this film. It's just I can't watch this movie without watching Part 2, which is unfortunate. Part 2 is not on Fangoria's Top 100, so I have no need to zoom into that movie. But I think I'm going to go through and watch all the Halloween movies and review them. Maybe do a tier list. I don't know. I do feel like this is still a great slasher movie, and I would recommend for any first-time watchers trying to get into the franchise. But that's it. You guys have a beautiful day. Thank you for subscribing. If you haven't, what are you waiting for? It's fine. Let's do it. I just want you guys to have a beautiful day.